So we have three panelists today. The idea is to present before you different college journeys, different career journeys after college, right? So we tried to create a panel where we had someone who had done an MBA, where we had someone who had done an MTech or master's degree, and we have people who either did jobs, who started their own startups, and definitely these esteemed panelists switched a lot, right? I think you will hear about them, about more about their journeys, definitely from them. Feel free to drop in questions in the chat box. I will be your host. I will be your moderator for today, and I will take as many questions as possible. Great. I will like to bring the panelists on stage. Good evening, Mr. Lokendra, and good evening, Mr. Akshay.
Hello, hi, hi,
Good
Tanvi.
evening.
Okay, good evening. If I can get both of your, right, definitely. There's a third panelist. He's running just a bit late. Maybe he'll join in 10 to 15 minutes, Mr. Jalaj. In the meantime, if I can get both of your introductions, we can, from your own words, I tried my best to introduce, but definitely, if we can get an introduction from your words also.
I'm 2008 computer science engineer who went to IIM Calcutta after CAT. 2013 pass out, worked a bit before joining IIM Calcutta on some government projects, some coding spaces. After 2013, I joined corporate. My first company was in pharmaceutical industry. After which there were some entrepreneurial instinct. I had my own company. Then I uh, did some consulting, and now I'm part of my ways as the team of founding members actually. So that's a brief, and we'll go into detail as and when required in the session.
Great, great. I think Mr. Akshay was facing some network issues. In the meantime, we can definitely start. All right.
Exactly.
So my first question to you is definitely how come, being from a technical background, how come you decided to go for an MBA after work experience? Was it something that you had planned when you were graduating that I will go for an MBA in this year, or was it something that happened in the flow?
Okay, so there are few factors which actually were involved in that decision. First was me being from not from very elite engineering college. I come from government engineering college in Chhattisgarh, and I'm a computer engineer. So the job and the salary levels at that time in 2008 were purely depending upon the pedigree you have. So that's the first. The second thing was about choosing to go for masters, whether in tech field or non-tech field. So I decided that my brain is better suited for non-tech field. So I went for MBA, and the decision for CAT was basically not repeating what I did during graduation of going for graduation in mediocre college. So the whole idea of cracking CAT and going to IIM Calcutta was trying to resolve the past, or trying not to commit the same mistake, or trying to overcome whatever I have. But it comes from a confidence that I do belong in a better space in the job market, in between competitors. So it's always about whether I'm competing with the best of the people or not, for anything, for job, for any contract, or for any kind of preparation actually.
So definitely your journey reflects that, right? So you're someone who has been working, who has worked with an MNC, who has started their own startup, who has done an MBA, right? So definitely, for our audience, it sometimes it's told by the industry that these are choices, especially of a master's, with the choice between a master's or an MBA, right? So
Yeah.
according to you, is it a one-time choice? Do you think people can undo these choices because the industry says no? So is that true, or what is your opinion on it?
No, no. You can have one day you can wake up and decide to do what you want to do, and it's not a one time thing. See, life is a series of choices, and you can undo or do or redo anything at any point of your time. And it's very evident from the current tech stack culture. where any tech stack has a very short-lived period of, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, then a new language comes along, then either you have to re-educate yourself or redo the skill thing. But uh, anybody who is thrilled, or anybody who wants to pursue a good career or wants to have a good compensation, or want to have a good corporate as their backing with respect to either startup or a good job, they can do it anytime they want. Plus, it's not just about upskilling, it's not just about reskilling, it's also about education. You can decide to go for higher education anytime now. Especially, word is global now. What I mean by that is, even the online space has immense possibility of you re-educating or educating yourself more in terms of masters, or you can go out in the world for a traditional college in any of the countries, and that is very, very, very much possible in today's world. And that decision has more to do with you being firm with what you want to do, rather than कि मैंने कुछ कर लिया है, I have done something and I have to stick with it. So that dilemma needs to be resolved by yourself, not by someone else actually.
Fair enough. Moving on to the next question. Exactly, I think Rupali has also asked in the chat. Maybe we can take it up, Rupali, once a few more panelists join, considering they also have some background in masters. But Lokendra, I would also want to know your opinion on. Uh, so definitely in today's time, like we talked about MBA versus masters, or we talked about higher education, and can we do it anytime?
Yeah.
What is your similarly? What is your opinion on uh, joining an MNC right after college? That's what the peers are doing, right? That's what everyone is running for. Not just that people are doing that. That's what everyone is targeting, right? But if someone out of the lot has maybe some kind of spark for entrepreneurship, how do you think does taking an experience in the industry help that spark, or how do you suggest that person to go about it?
So if I understand correctly, it's basically about can you just
Summarize
remind
the
me?
question. Yeah.
Yeah,
So should I go for a job before
yeah,
wanting to start my own startup? So if I have a basic spark but
understood,
I'm clueless,
understood.
so do I take the safe net or do I risk it right from the start?
Hmm. Okay, so uh, we have our CEO as an example of that, and we have other people as an example of that, including me and few of my friends. Okay, so my way CEO went straight away from the college. In fact, before finishing the college, to have a startup. uh, Me, some of the other people, I think two both of our fellow panelists, they went with the startup after they have some experience in the industry. Okay, so the question is not about whether to gain experience or not. The question is about clarity of your ideation, right? If you are ready with your ideation, and if you are ready with the complete view of your ideation, it's fairly in fact, I suggest to go ahead with it whenever it happens. So it doesn't matter whether you do it during the college or just after the college, or you waiting to gain experience, but it's about the self belief in your ability to do it, because you have to gain some skills before starting a startup. Okay, so whether you have done it during the college, then it's good, you can go straight ahead, or you can just wait to gain those skills, learn about it in the industry, or read about it, or educate yourself on those things. So basically, it's about readiness. It's never about the age, it's never about whether to gain experience in corporate or not. And I think the second question was about MNC and startup, right?
Mhm.
So basically, uh, see, I actually think that this question should slowly die over a period of 5-10 years, because now I think it's more about role. a role in Amazon and a role in a startup should be compared rather than Amazon and that startup, because uh, first of all, any individual has their own preferences in terms of security and achievement. Okay, so that whole discussion around government jobs, which is still around in middle tier towns or between middle class families, the security of having a government job is the same discussion extended to corporate culture, where you want to have a job in Amazon, Google, or somewhere, and vis-a-vis you have want to have a job in startup. It's about whether you want to lead a team in 1 year or 1.5 year time, or you want to be part of a secured culture where you think that learning is immense. Learning is immense in startups also. If you choose a good startup, if you have a good team, learning
Mhm.
can be done in big corporates also. So it's more about role and what you're capable of, basically.
Right. Great. I think Mr. Akshay is here. Mr. Akshay, are you here? Can we get
Yes,
you
yes,
on
Sanvi.
video?
Yes, Sanvi. I'm
Okay.
there.
Yes, yes, yes. I see you. I see you. If I can get your introduction from your own words, what has been your journey from college? If I can get your introduction, yeah.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Akshay Pansari, and I did my BTech from IT Delhi, and I also then did my master's from IT Delhi. So my BTech was in Industrial and Production Department, and my master's was in Computer Science Department. And then I joined Jaguar Land Rover as a software engineer, and I was working there till like last April, and now I am trying to pursue my own startup. Yeah, so that's my background.
Okay, awesome. That's again a roller coaster journey. So
Yeah.
definitely, maybe I'll put that question to you also. So, what was your, thought process of doing that master's degree after your BTech? And definitely, like
Mhm.
Lokendra mentioned, that his decision of doing a master's was because he wanted a better pedigree of college, but you already had an IIT Delhi stamp. So, what was your motivation behind doing a master's?
Yeah, so for me, like I was always into tech, so I thought that if I do masters, I will be like inclined in that field, and I can like I also like to read about new technology and upcoming technology like blockchains, artificial intelligence, and all. So I thought if I do my masters in computer science, I will be in that field and I can contribute much more. So that was the main reason for me doing masters, and I thought that I always wanted to be entrepreneur at the end. So like having an idea of technology will definitely help you out.
Okay, awesome. So, see, definitely that's the advantage of having a panel discussion. So, very two different perspectives on both the questions that I asked. So, I definitely would like to think of it from a perspective that these choices are very personal to someone, because
Yeah.
when it came to higher studies, you Mr. Lokendra went for a better pedigree. You went for it because of a different course or a switch in the field. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, maybe Mr. Lokendra is suggesting to deep dive right into it if you're confident enough, and you took your time, you went to the industry, you gained that knowledge, and now you're starting your entrepreneurship. So, my question there is that how do you identify this kind of inclination or these kind of choices? Or would you suggest people to maybe go with the flow or think what is right in the moment or plan ahead? So, what is both of your opinions on that?
Okay, so I will go then. So what I think is in the college and even after college, I think we should explore a bit and try to see like what is the right field for us. So for me, I tried research internship in my college. I also did few internship in companies. Then I find out that like for me, it was much more about technology and how I can work in that. So I did a job there, and yeah. So basically, it's more about trying different things and finding out what is right for you, and then maybe exploring that field much more, which you're comfortable in.
Okay, Lokendra, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. So, see, I can actually differentiate a need for a startup or you doing an entrepreneurial. stint or trying to open a company into basically two categories. One is that something which is itching inside you, you want to do for long. You have been thinking about it for years, and you want to either solve a problem or you want to change something. Okay, and then there is another aspect of it, which is actually about that market is representing an opportunity, and I want to grab that opportunity, and the better way to grab that opportunity is opening my own, or doing my own thing. Okay, in the first case of a cause based or a mission based startup, where actually your entrepreneurial instinct is because you are unsatisfied with whatever is happening around to solve any problem. Okay, that is more of an emotional decision. Okay, and you can be prepared as soon as you think that you can sustain. It's not about having a pressure of generating profit or trying to sustain as long as possible, but it is more about solving a problem. In the second case, it's more about a practical aspect of financial future. But in both the cases, there is a fiduciary obligation for you uh, to sustain when people get involved with you. See, an entrepreneurial stint is not about founder, it's also about the team. So whenever you are starting, because of any of the reasons, in both of the reasons, you need to have a proper planning so that you can actually sustain to support these people financially or emotionally or motivationally. So there is a fiduciary responsibility also, and there's a real responsibility also of sustaining that business. So you should be confident enough and skilled enough. It's not just about कि मैंने सोचा सुबह उठ के कि आज दुनिया बदलनी है. It needs to be backed by your skill. You need to know how a business runs. You need to know how finances works. You need to know how operations work. You need to know a product aspect of it. You need to know a lot of things before pulling people in, because entrepreneurial journey is not a single person journey. Okay, so you have the responsibility of people who are involved with you, and to fulfill that responsibility you need preparation with the confidence in both the cases.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So, we have a question from Akash, I think on similar lines, so I'll take it up in between. He's asking that eventually he wants to start his own company. He wants to have an entrepreneurial venture, but right now he's planning to do a master's degree. Following up on what you both just said. So in that situation, is it better to go for a MTech or an MBA if your end goal is to get your own startup?
Okay,
Mr. Akshay,
so
yeah.
yeah, okay. Uh, okay, I see the question. So basically, it's about what to do right after BTech. So
Yeah.
should we go for MTech or should we go for MBA for starting a company, right? So I would say it doesn't matter actually. The main thing is like as my panelist said, Lokendra said that it's more about like the time, right time for you. So if you see yourself more of a business guy, like you are much more inclined toward developing a product, right, or raising funds and all. So I think then you can go for MBA. But if you see yourself as more of a tech guy who likes to work in different technology, then you can go for MTech. But in the meanwhile, you can also try to have your own side projects just to keep yourself running and being in that field where you can maybe try out different things and see what things excite you. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Next question is I think, very, very relevant for Lokendra. Yeah. So somebody is asking, how far do you think going for an IT job in either a startup or an MNC and managing preparation for an exam like UPSC? What is your opinion on this? So just to give a background, you're on mute. Just to give a background, Lokendra himself has he was the head of an institute which was helping students prepare for UPSC. So I think you'll find a spot on person to answer that question.
Yeah. So I did prepared for UPSC, appeared, cleared mains, didn't clear interview. I had an institute. My entrepreneurial stint is UPSC Preparatory Institute, which is still running in the state of Chhattisgarh. Okay, so see, to tell you very frankly, there are few exams in India which can't be done, uh, where- whose preparation can't be done part time. Obviously, JEE is one of them, and at the top. Second is civil services, which is UPSC, and third is CAT. Okay, so I think in India these are the three exams you can't do preparation part time. You need to immerse yourself full time. That's why you see a lot of institute for JEE preparation who just provide you school certification, but the focus is JEE. You see dedicated civil services institute where the degree doesn't actually matter, and you can do any BA BSc kind of degree and go on preparation for it. Okay, and specifically UPSC doesn't require any degree or any level of score. Minimum is 50% and all. So the focus should be on preparation rather than doing it with the job, because uh, competition is very hard. It's not about whether you'll be able to do it or not. It's always about that half mark or that those 2 marks, right? So it at the end it's always about last 2 marks of selection and rejection. And because of that level of competition, you need to dedicate yourself at least um, a year or half a year or something like that needs to be dedicated fully. I don't believe that it can be done with the full-time job.
Okay, that was a very non-diplomatic answer. Thank you. So we have a question for Mr. Akshay next. So Rupali is asking, doing masters from distance, right? So definitely, I know that you did a dual degree, but what is your opinion on a distance master's degree? Do you think it is beneficial, and in what cases should a user or a student be okay of doing a master's from a distance?
Okay. For me, I think that it's better to do any degree with members, like with the colleagues and all, with your people around you, because you will learn a lot. But if you have some circumstances where you can't do like degree masters from distance, then I think you can do it. Otherwise, I think you should prefer to do this master's degree with people around you. That will be better because you will learn a lot more than you will learn doing it alone. So yeah, that's my point of view. But yeah, it might differ for people.
Definitely. So these two questions prompt me to think, right? So sometimes, even when I was a student, we think that these decisions have to be very urgent. That I have to do a master's right now. If I'm not able to get, I will do a distance master's, right? So sometimes we think these decisions are very urgent for us. Like somebody looking for a job when they want to do a UPSC, they want to clear that UPSC. So do you think that there are any urgencies when it comes to your career? And if not, then how does one how does one zoom out and think about it, right? How to get that courage or that guts to delay those important decisions if they don't feel.
Going back to the question, this question also, I think the decision for the let's go with the previous question of distance learning or distance education, then we'll come to this. See, do you want a certification or do you actually want to learn? These are two, these are aspects of it. Okay, so let's say there is a manager who's working in industry for 6 years. He know how to manage people. He's leading a team for last 3 4 years. But to grow into the corporate, or grow beyond at his position, which is senior manager, he wants to go into middle management or top management. He needs an MBA degree, but he know the craft. It's not about learning the craft. He already knows the craft, so he can take a certificate uh, by doing distance learning or something. Okay, but there are skills which needs to be honed, which needs to be learned in a real environment. Then there are certifications like Six Sigma, digital marketing courses, which can be done through distance learning. So you have to differentiate between what is the core skill. What are the core skills? Core skills can either be learned through a very structured environment or through work experience, right? But other skills can be added anytime through online, through distance learning, through anything. Okay, so what is the skill you want to add into? That's the basic decision marker for distance learning, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
the second question I missed it. So
Right. So, when is it okay to delay some decisions?
yeah. So there can be multiple factors, but basically there are two to three categories we can put those factors. Okay, basically three. One is your family or financial situation. I'm grouping both financial and family situation in one. So that is something which I don't think this is the forum to discuss. If there is a situation, there is a situation. You can't do anything about it. Then timing of decision making. Second option is about whether you feel in terms of satisfaction that now I want to do it. See, for most of us it's about urgency. Unless and until you feel that urgency, you should not go for it, because even if you'll go for it, you'll always be on doubt. Okay, so first develop that urgency that this needs to be done. So the second factor is whether that urgency, innate urgency, is there or not. And the third factor is environment, to develop that. You develop an urgency, but फिर institute ही नहीं है, या फिर सिनेरियो ही नहीं है उस चीज को सीखने का या उस चेंज उस डिसीजन को लेने का. So you also have to take factor of the environment, that whether that environment is supporting your change or your decision or not. So basically these are the three factors what I can consider for any decision or change.
Okay, awesome. So I think again there's some internet issue because Mr. Akshay was using the a hotspot instead of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, should I just explain it a bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was going
So,
to have a follow-up question anyway. Yeah.
So let's say you are looking for a change in the job or looking for change in your education. Okay, so your target can be 2 weeks time, or your target can be 1.5 years time. Okay, the decision needs to be yours. Let's say you want to learn, that your target is to learn some tool in digital marketing or analytics. Okay, so that's a 2 weeks target. Okay, so environmental factor, whether it's available or not, financial, family factor, doesn't matter, right? But then there is a decision that your target is that I want to be head of my department, or I want to be head of the team, or I want to be CTO of my company, or CMO of my company, or I want to be in general CTO or CMO. So it's a 4 years target, 5 years target. But then also you can't delay the target setting. You need to set it today, so that you start working towards your target and dividing that target into smaller targets. So don't delay your decision of setting the target, right? And you can mold the environment around you, because there is 4 years time. So I'm not saying that environment nahi hai to target set mat karo ya jao mat us change ke liye. The only thing I'm saying is you set the target and then work on setting up the environment, setting up everything, upskilling yourself, learning about a lot of things to achieve that target. Okay, so it's about how long and how big the target is actually.
Okay.
Oh, I think we have Jalaj
Yes.
with us.
Hi, Jalaj. How are you?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining. I think there was a bit of issue on your end also, right? No issues. I think we have still
Yeah.
time. If I can get your introduction in your words,
Okay,
what
okay.
has been your journey after college? We can start with
In
that.
case there is some issues with my, I mean,
No issues. No
audio
issues.
quality or video.
No
Yeah.
issues.
So yeah, yeah. So I mean, thanks for joining everyone, and thanks a lot, Tanvi, for introducing. And also MyWays, the entire MyWays team for this initiative that you guys are taking. So just to sort of introduce myself, I am Jalaj Garg. I graduated back from IIT Guwahati in 2017, post which I mean I had been I started my corporate stint with MNCs. I mean, large multinational companies like ZS Associates and American Express, more into the analytics side, understanding also how analytics drive business, how data drives business insights. And then like since last 2 or 2.5 years, I've been kind of involved in the entire startup ecosystem, where I, of course, did my own venture. I got to kind of ideate and work on my own venture, which goes by the name Edgenus, or which went by the name Edgenus. So it was, I mean, I was the CEO and I was the founder of that company. I'll of course add more details to it later. But yeah, so after that, so basically it was a decent stint and of course wonderful experience having my own venture, learning a lot of things which I couldn't earlier, and within just a span of 1.5 years. So also since last 1 year, I've been working as a product manager, and I've recently been promoted to a senior product manager.
Okay. Uh, if someone from the team can just help out Mr. Jalaj on the back end. Sure. I think in the meantime, we can continue with the maybe the panel again. So I'll put this questions to. I think if all of you have heard about Murphy's law, if if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. But that's okay. I think we can manage to talk more about. So definitely, I believe the panel discussion was supposed to be a bit about MBA versus job versus masters, but we also added on a layer of competitive exams. We also added a layer of decision making. So moving further into the discussion, putting this question to Lokendra, and if Mr. Akshay can also jump
Hello.
in, I think, yeah.
So I was just saying that my sort of current stint is that I am working as a product manager and been recently promoted to a senior product manager at Credgenix, which is a collection based company, primarily into the B2B SaaS space and into fintech space. And yeah, so that is where I've been working, and kind of working on two very new products which were not live when I joined, but since last now they have an active client base. So I got the opportunity to contribute for their go live and also scaling them now.
Okay, great, awesome, good to know. Right, thank you, Mr. Jalaj, for that introduction. I will move on to the next question for the panel now. So definitely, when we talk about either of whether it's higher education or whether it's switching a role, whether it's switching a job, whatever it is, when it comes to these decisions, they are mostly related to career progression. So a candidate, a student, they want to move to the next step of their career, right? So I believe that. So, what is your opinion of an ideal career progression chart, or is there even one? Or if you would like to add on your personal opinion also of your personal journey when it comes to typically thinking about a career progression and how you are growing. Right. I think Mr. Akshay is also here. If either three of you can take it up.
Sure. So just
Lokendra, if you can maybe start and then Jalaj and Akshay can talk. Hop in.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. So, yes, there definitely is an ideal career progression which exists, and it is about uh, it can be, judged on two factors. One is definitely at the ladder of the corporate. The other can be the responsibility you receive at your role. Okay, so you start at the bottom at execution level, then you given the responsibility of two people, then you are managing the whole team, then you are managing the whole department, then you may be now taking control of P&L or a category, then you are taking control of the whole section or whole so that is one progression. The other progression definitely is in designations, uh, from executive to senior executive to so on and so forth. So yes, that definitely exists, and we should be uh, you know obliged by it. In fact, in 99% cases, that's the case. But then we are also talking about 1% of the cases where that does not apply. And there comes the idea of technical people or ingenious, the people whom we call ingenious, who don't get defined by that, but they also lie in the spectrum somewhere. They have the ability to jump from one step to four step up, but they also are in the spectrum. So that spectrum exists. Journey may be different for 99% and 1%, but that spectrum does exist. Okay, so somebody like an entrepreneur or a founder jumps directly into the top decision making layer. Okay, but he also resides in that layer. So and
So
progression can be judged by your skill development also, and also the layers you rise and whatever is required. I'm sorry, there is some disturbance.
No issues. Jalaj, if
yeah,
you were able to follow, yeah.
I was able to follow. Yeah. So basically, what sort of I wanted to add to this, and I think, uh, uh, I mean, to what Akshay also said is that in career, like while deciding your career progression, there are basically two parts to it. One is more of a, I would say, a horizontal career progression, and second is more of a vertical career progression. So just to sort of boil down on each one of those, the horizontal career progression is basically, one person or one sort of guy learning multiple skills which may belong to one sort of spectrum, like for instance within business, within tech, etc. And second is a vertical progression, as I think the other panelist, the co-panelist was mentioning about, that there is like you jump from executive to senior executive to, and higher management positions, where you sort of start taking your own, start taking crucial decisions. So I think both are very important in your career. And I think what I feel, is that one should definitely focus in the initial years on the horizontal progression as much as he can, because that's when you sort of come out of the college, you start exploring different skills or different, once you have say, like, taken 2-3 years to kind of decide on what you want to pursue or what you're enjoying, and also what has been what your fitment, or where your fitment also lies. So that is where you start basically taking vertical progression, where you move from, move to different stages, vertically, maybe within an organization or laterally. So that is what I think, both are sort of very important. And I would stint during your, in your first 5 years or first 6 years of your career tenure, if possible. Because that is where I think I got to realize that yes, there are so many things that I was not earlier exposed to. There are so many responsibilities or decisions that now depend on you, and then you basically have a better sort of quality to make crucial judgments and crucial decisions. And also you learn a lot of things like managing time, managing people, which definitely help you as you go further up in your career. So that is what I'll just like to add. Hope that was clear. Everyone was able to follow up.
Right, sure. Thank you so much. I think I will take another question from the audience before just summarizing everything. So somebody is asking if a person is already well settled in their career, right? So, um, is how to go up the career ladder. Is an MBA absolutely necessary, right? So most of the companies sometimes demand, but if the company is not demanding, do you think MBA accelerates it, or do you think a person can have some other way of maybe going up the career ladder? Lokendra, if you would like to take it up, or should I repeat the question?
No, no.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very interesting and a very common kind of now it's getting into the space of being myth, but it's still a reality that having a degree opens up your base or your options actually. So there are companies who doesn't care about it, but then there are many companies who does care about it. So are you in a very confined space of finding job where you can find job without subjecting yourself to a degree, because you being very comfortable or very well settled in your career is not about that you want to learn specifically the skills of management, or you know a lot, you may be wanting to, but you know a lot already. So the simple decision for me is whether you can find the job without that, or whether you can find the progression without that, or you want to open up your base or open up the job space more for you, because it's still about acceptance. It's still about your CVs being filtered out or not filtered out. Okay, so if the job requirement is that you need to have an MBA degree, then you need to have an MBA degree, or you can find a job space where this doesn't matter. So it's a very uh, not very subjective. It's always better to have additional or have a degree, so to open up the market.
Right. I think another question from Somit. May I know the name of the user who's writing the questions in the name of Galaxy? I'll be able to help, like, take up questions better. So we have a question from Somit. He's asking between your preference of doing a job and an MBA, or going for a master's in management, maybe from a top institute in US.
Yeah, MIM. He's talking about MIM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah. So shall I go ahead and answer that?
Yeah. Sure. Where are
Uh,
you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Please answer. I'm trying to find you.
yeah. So okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, could you just so I mean repeat the last few words of the question, the last sentence.
So
I
the
think it was
Somit is
more
asking, yeah,
around the M. Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry.
yes. So it's just he's asking a preference between a job plus an MBA, maybe a 2 years job and an MBA, or a MIM from USA.
Yeah, so I mean, there are a couple of friends that now I have, or colleagues from either college or from undergrad or my past working experience, who I have seen. The same question I also had been asking. Till until recently, where I got to know that MBA really plays a very crucial role. And again, this is more of, this could be subjective, could vary across, person to person. But having an MBA definitely helps, because after a while, once you have sort of gotten the experience of working in a corporate, or working, learning different skills by and applying those skills, because after like maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, you get more of a wisdom, or you get more of a perspective of what you actually want to pursue, and then sort of shaping that up with the help of an MBA, or maybe a startup sprint, or startup stint, or like more of a I mean uh, even a role only in that particular domain. That definitely helps you to sort of master that skill, or at least take that ahead, and then achieve also, and then MBA also MBA also kind of adds a cherry on the cake in terms of you getting more like wider opportunity set once you graduate. So yeah, I mean, that is again I could say subjective. Maybe the other panelists would also have some opinions on that. But yeah, from my own experience and what I have gotten to, gotten from the and then that followed by MBA, that is something that really helps you.
Sure.
And
I think,
maybe a global MBA could also help, because global MBA also gives you more of an exposure to work or even be surrounded by people from different geographies, different interests and all.
sure.
Yeah.
I would maybe ask for a follow-up question. Hitesh is asking that if you want to switch to a MBA, right, from being an engineer, coming from a computer science background, is there any specialization that would either help him or give him an edge between HR, finance, marketing, and there are a plethora of specializations today in business analytics and all these fields, or do you think all these fields eventually level up and it depends on the person? Yes, Jalaj, or Jalaj, if you would like to maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, in the MBAs, but again, this is the discussions that I keep on having with people around my connections. So yeah, are you following?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So basically, even like for instance, I've been into product management since last 2 years now, and definitely, I think product management or is definitely one area that I can specifically mention about from where having like a background in also helps, because a product gets work with engineers, right? So once you also, I mean, so if you have like a experience with coding, and that you kind of and then you sort of do an MBA with maybe product management as one of the specializations, then of course you have a better chance of I mean, a better chance as compared to your colleagues in I mean, succeeding in that particular space. So yeah,
Okay,
so that is what I
Lokendra,
can call out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Lokendra, would you like to add on anything onto the specialization?
Yeah. So the broader, we call it branches or streams, are about the first job, or unless and until it is about it is finance or marketing. Okay, if you are doing MBA from finance, you actually want to go into finance. Okay, other than that, HR, marketing, and everything else, over period of your 2 years or 3 years in the job, gets neutralized. Okay, uh, finance is one thing, marketing is the another, where you are specifically, even after 5 years or 4 years of experience, somebody can in one of interview ask you about whether you have done specialization on marketing, or you know about basics of marketing or not. But it's very a very one-off things. It's not very common. Most of the time, after your first job, it's all about what you have done in the job, and what were your learnings, and what have you applied, and what you want to do, and what you can do for us, kind
Mhm.
of questions. Okay, but yeah, finance is one aspect. Then there is hospitality, product. I don't think is that prominent in terms of after 4 5 years. If you are doing a product job like Jalaj, nobody is going to ask you whether you've done MBA from marketing or not. You are as If you are skilled, you have done good in your previous job, it's all okay. But yeah, finance is one thing where people are specifically doing their PGDM or MBA in finance to go into the finance. Actually, many of the analytics job does require a finance MBA or finance specialization. Actually,
Okay. Thank you so much.
there's one straightforward question from Rupali which says HR specialization is not good. It is uh, actually very good if applied correctly. So there's no issues with the HR specialization. Again, it's a myth that there is a problem. There is not. Okay, so it's absolutely fine.
Okay, sure. Um, to wrap it up, I think I would like to maybe summarize today's discussion. So we definitely talked about the industry myth of following a certain path, right? Following certain steps, taking certain steps in your career which are deemed to be right. The panel insisted and shared their own experiences on it is okay to take decisions according to where you are right now. So today it might make more sense for you to do an MTech, and tomorrow it might make sense for you to do an MBA even after doing job after MTech, right? So there are a lot of permutations and combinations, and we see from the backgrounds of the panel, you can go and check their LinkedIn's also. There is no set certain path of doing something. It is about where you are in that moment of your career and where you're looking at maybe 5 to 10 years down the line, and how you see yourself as a person. Jalaj, maybe you can unmute and also mention the point. Okay. So he's mentioning about chief of staff roles. They are very popular and very demanding roles. And very well paid roles when it comes to chief of staff roles. Rupali, I think that answer
Yeah,
was for
yeah.
you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, so that is what I was, yeah, so that is what I was just saying, that yeah, I mean, I have also, so there is one more, even like in different startups, early stage startup also, and people take chief of staff as the role after an MBA in HR. So, and that is, of course, as a chief of staff you get to manage I mean the entire uh, I mean uh, I mean, not just the HR part, but also you get to look into the P&L and unit, I mean, of the company, work on crucial hiring decisions and all. So that is definitely a role which is like well-rounded and gives you a overall
Thank you. So definitely, I would maybe conclude by saying that if you're deciding between doing a MBA, a master's, or going for jobs, starting your own startup, think of it. What would help you the most? What would motivate you the most? Because whichever you do, you have to excel at it, right? If you're choosing a master's, you have to choose it for your future. If you're choosing an MBA, you are choosing it to maybe accelerate your career or get a pedigree on your resume. If you're wanting to start your own startup, good luck, right? Because that's definitely a deep dive without a parachute. That's what I have been hearing on LinkedIn these days. And definitely, also, if you want to go for an MNC, that's what people go after, and it's definitely maybe the right choice for you. So, when choosing such a decision, when taking such a decision, go by what your journey has been and where you see yourself in the future. Talk to people, reach out to people on LinkedIn, and take a decision on a personalized manner rather going open ended and doing maybe what other people are suggesting you to do. So I think that was just a conclusion of our 1 hour of discussion. Thank you so much to Lokendra, Jalaj, and Akshay. Akshay, I know you're here, but you're not able to speak because of the rain. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, listening to us. Please stay tuned till the end of the day. We have a lot, many sessions planned for you. Just now, we're going to start with a quiz also. Any parting words by either three of you, Jalaj, Lokendra, or Akshay?